Can you change your world with the roll of a die? We're about to find out! Hey everyone, so today we are going to be rolling a landscape. Let's take a look at our supplies. We are going to need something to draw on. You could just use paper, if that's what you've got, but you could also use a dry erase board or a chalkboard, anything you can mark on. You're going to need something to draw with. I'm going to be using a normal number 2 pencil, but you could also use markers, crayons, anything you have on hand. You are going to need the Roll a Landscape matrix that I have posted to this assignment in our Google Classroom. I have printed mine out so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see what I'm doing, but really you just need to be able to see it. So if you just want to leave it pulled up on your screen, that's fine too. You're going to need something to roll. I'm going to be using a die, but if you don't have a die, you could just type roll a die into Google and Google will actually roll a die for you, which is a pretty handy feature. You're going to want something to color with. You could use crayons, I'm going to be using markers, but anything that has color to it will work just fine. Once you get your supplies, we can get started. Okay folks, so the first step in rolling a landscape is to take a look at our Roll a Landscape sheet. I have printed mine out to make it a little easier for you guys to see what I'm doing, but you don't have to print it out, you could just leave it up on your computer screen. Just as long as you can see it, you're good. And it looks like the first thing we're going to need to do is roll what our sky is going to look like. So I'm going to take my die and I'm going to roll it, and I got a 4, which means that I'm going to look at number 4 coming down, and it looks like I'm going to be drawing some rain clouds and rain. So let's do that. We're going to kind of just copy the picture here because that's our example. So I'm going to take my paper. You'll notice I have it turned horizontal, turned sideways because we're drawing in landscape. So I'm just going to draw some fluffy clouds here. Remember to draw lightly, that way in case you make a mistake, you can erase it. Try to use lots of different size bumps when you're drawing your clouds. They're not very even or regular. A little more fluffy if they're a little extra bumpy. Let's put another one over here. Just a small one. And then we're going to need some rain coming out of these clouds. So to do that, we're just going to add some lines here. Looking pretty stormy. Remember to make your lines all sorts of different lengths and space them out in different ways. There we go. That was looking pretty rainy. Let's put one right here. He looks kind of sad and empty. Alright. Our next step is to roll our background, second turn. So we need to draw what the background is going to look like. Stuff way off in the distance. So I'm going to take my die again. I'm going to roll it. And I got a number 2. Which means we got these kind of rolling hills like this. So put some rolling hills in there. Remember that if you don't have a die at home, you can just type roll a die into Google and it will roll a die for you, which is a super useful feature. There we go. We got some hills. Okay. Now we're going to go to step 3, the foreground. That's the stuff closest to us. I'm going to take my trusty rusty die, roll it. I got a 5. Okay, what's number 5? Coming down. foreground. We've got some kind of squiggly, I'm not really sure what that is. Squiggly lines. It's probably grass. We'll try to make it look like grass up here in the front. Remember to make it random. Landscapes are out in nature, and nature is very random. Very chaotic. So you would have all different sizes, different shapes, spacing. Change it up. Alright, there's our foreground. Now we're going to need to go to step 4, our trees. We're going to take our die again, rolling it out. And I got a 1, which means we're going to be doing trees like this. We'll go down to 1, come down. These teardrop shaped trees. So we're again just kind of copying the picture. Here's the tree, here's the trunk, and we've got a whole bunch of these. Put some behind too. Add layers, which adds depth. Makes your picture look more interesting. Maybe have a few going off the paper like that, just to keep it interesting. Plant and forest all over this paper. Maybe a little one over here. There we go, we got some trees. Alright, next, go to step 5. We need some flowers. So we're going to take the die again, shake it up, roll it. We got a 1. Second 1. So we're going to go down to 1 and 5. We're going to get flowers like this. Remember, don't just copy my picture. Roll your own. It's part of the fun of this thing. Try to see what chance gives you. Add a bunch of different sized flowers on here. That's looking pretty floral. All right, we got one more step, folks. We're going to go down to number 6, and we're going to roll an extra. We're going to figure out what kind of stuff is going to be in this landscape, what kind of people, places, buildings, that sort of thing. So we're rolling our die, and we roll it off the table. Well, that's okay. We rolled a number 6. So we are going to have a city on our landscape. All right, let's add a city. It looks like, in our example, it's a bunch of rectangles. So we're going to add some rectangles, kind of way off in the distance here. Make them all sorts of different sizes. Maybe put a point on a couple of them. Clock tower. Add some windows. Make it look cool. You can also do windows like this. Draw a big rectangle and divide it up. That could be interesting. Maybe add a door in one of these buildings. Can make your windows interesting. Make them semicircular. You could have long ones. Lots of different ways you could go. Be creative with your city. If you get a city. You may not get a city. Who knows? That's the joy of rolling your own landscape. So once you get everything drawn out, you could probably add some color if you wanted to. You could take some colored pencils or some crayons or some markers and really embellish this and make it look really colorful and awesome. And that's how you roll a landscape. So after a bunch of coloring, here's my landscape. But I want to see yours. Make sure you take a picture and post it to the class art gallery.